In just over a week, 6 babies in Gaza have died from the cold weather. That's according to the Hamas-controlled health authorities. With hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians living in tents and temperatures expected to drop further in the coming days, the United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, has warned that more children's lives are at risk. Israel doesn't allow the BBC independent access into Gaza, but our correspondent Amir Nader has worked with 2 freelance camera operators in Gaza who met families who've lost loved ones. Amir has more now from Jerusalem.
It was, again last night, a very cold night in Gaza with winds and heavy rain. There are hundreds of thousands of Gazans living in tents there in the Gaza Strip. And we've heard from the Civil Defence Forces this morning, the first responders, who say that whilst last night was a relatively quiet night in terms of airstrikes, they received many calls of families living in tents who say that the tents were flooded or destroyed. Now, the humanitarian agencies, including the United Nations, are calling for Israel to allow more aid into the Gaza Strip, saying there is a dire need for those goods for winter to keep families warm there. Israel, for its part, is saying that they do continue to facilitate the delivery and transfer of aid into the Gaza Strip. Now, the report that you're about to see, as a warning, just to say, does contain some distressing themes. Baby Sila was just 20 days old when her father, Mahmoud, couldn't wake her.
In the morning, I found her stiff, like wood. I took her to the hospital and they told me, your daughter has been dead for an hour due to the cold. I have no clothes, no food, no drink. Only God knows our condition.
Sila was seen by Dr. Ahmed Al-Farah.
She suffered from severe hypothermia, leading to the cessation of vital signs, cardiac arrest, and eventually death. Yesterday as well, 2 cases were brought in. One was a 3-day-old baby, and the other was less than a month old. The cause of this is life in the tents.
Mahmoud's family have been displaced over 10 times throughout the war. Here in Mawasi camp, tens of thousands of Gaza's nearly 2 million displaced live on the beach, suffering from the winter and flooding from the rain and the sea, with almost no infrastructure and a lack of food. Amid heavy restrictions by Israel on aid deliveries to Gaza, says the United Nations, Israel denies it restricts aid.
I felt heartbroken for her because of the conditions. I did everything I could to keep her warm, but I couldn't manage to do so.
Without a phone, the family doesn't have a single photo of Sila when she was alive. Only 3 weeks of memories and little Sila's clothes.
I never thought I would give birth living in a tent in such cold and freezing conditions, with water dripping on us. Water leaks into the tent, pouring down on us. At times, we had to run to escape the water for the baby's sake.
On Sunday, another tragic case. Baby Juma also didn't make it longer than 20 days.
Touch with your hand. He's frozen. Frozen. All 8 of us. We don't have 4 blankets. What can I do? I see my children dying in front of me. My children are dying in front of me.
In just over a week, 6 babies in Gaza have died from the cold weather, local health officials have said. Under the sound of Israeli drones above, Mahmoud carried Sila's lifeless body to a makeshift graveyard.
We're all sick. Our chests hurt, and we have colds from the cold and rain. If we didn't die from the war, we're dying from the cold.
As the winter cold becomes more harsh and merciless, another preventable death in Gaza, where the youngest are suffering most from the cruelties of war. Well, there you go, some of the very upsetting testimonies of families in Gaza who feel powerless and unable to keep their children warm. The United Nations is saying that they estimate around 1 million people in Gaza don't have adequate protection for winter. And without an improvement in the situation, many are predicting that this wave of preventable deaths in Gaza because of the cold will sadly continue.